Hey there. Welcome to Toy Talk with Mike and Chad, episode 66. I'm Mike,
I'm Chad.
and the toys that we're going to be talking about today are some new G.I. Joes. Now, we are filming this on August 1st. San Diego Comic-Con just wrapped up last weekend,
Yeah.
so we're almost a week out from it. Before we get into all the Joes that we do have, you want to talk about some of the Joes that we learned about?
Oh man. Yeah, I was impressed with the announcements. Specifically that sniper from
The 60th
the 60th
anniversary.
anniversary. Like that was a sick sniper. And like the art style with that. And we were talking about the ghillie suit with the desert one.
Yeah.
And they actually gave it an authentic ghillie suit with this one. So I'm like, that's kind of cool. I probably wouldn't display her with the ghillie suit, but
Yeah, I don't think I'm a fan of ghillie suits.
no.
I get it, but I never think they really look cool. I'd rather display the figure without it. Like, for practical purposes, I understand why a sniper would need it in the field, but on a toy shelf, eh.
I,
So,
I believe I was working when you sent me the announcement video of like all the Joes,
yeah,
and you're like, brace yourself. Like, okay, what are they gonna have? Like two or three? No, they had like eight.
they had a lot. And yeah, it was like a lot of deluxe figures. Like, there was a lot to be excited about. Like Xandar, I'm really excited
Yeah,
about. That's Zartan and
sorry, yeah.
Zorana's brother. And it always felt a little incomplete to have them without him. He got neglected in the early 2000s too. They did new Zartans and they did new Zoranas, but they never updated Xandar. So yeah, he's kind of the literally like the redheaded stepchild or whatever. So yeah, it's nice that he's getting some love. Road Pig is a favorite of mine,
Yeah, Road Pig looked really cool.
and like I talk about this all the time, but when I was a kid, me and my brother Doug, we split our collections. So for Dreadnoks, like he had Torch, he had Thrasher, he had Xandar actually when we were kids. But like, so some of the guys that I had were like Road Pig and Nagahide. So those were two of my favorites. Nagahide, we're gonna get any day now. He's in the mail on his way to us. But like, they took what was great about the original figure and they've expanded him because they gave him like a monkey sidekick and all this sort of stuff. And Road Pig too. They gave him a lot of stuff. Like he's got is it a bulldog or is it a pit
It's
bull?
a pit bull, I believe.
Yeah, he's got like a pit bull sidekick. He's got alternate heads. He's got this crazy pig mask.
Mhm.
He used to always have a cinder block on a stick, but now he's also got this other big metal mallet.
Yeah.
Like, of course, that's going to probably double the price of him, but I think I'm probably most excited about him.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that I liked a lot. But the big reveal was the next HasLab,
Yeah.
which is the Rattler jet.
And it already funded.
Yeah, well, at this point, I'm not worried about them not funding because, like, the Hiss tank, I think, funded in the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
The Dragonfly helicopter, I don't know if it was 24. I think it might have been because, but anyway, it was very, very quick that it funded. The thing that kind of stresses me out with these things is it going to reach all the stretch goals?
Yeah.
Because there's always a big rush at the start, and then it kind of plateaus, and it you really feel robbed of something. I know Hasbro sells it like these are free bonus items, but if I pay the 350 for the jet and they say you'll get these other items for free if we sell enough of them, and then you don't sell enough, and they're like you don't get the free stuff, I feel like robbed
Ripped
of
off.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully we get all the stretch goals, but I'm pretty confident that we will.
Did you back it?
I have
Or will you back it?
I have not yet. I assume you haven't.
I have not.
Are you going to?
I'm on the fence.
Because you haven't backed the first two.
No, and I regret not doing the Hiss tank.
Because I have the Hiss tank, and it's just just out of frame up on top of this white bookshelf over here. And then I have the helicopter coming. It's I think due out in November or December of this year. So at this point, I'm basically a completist. Like I have everything they've put out GI Joe classified, and I don't want to drop the ball now. And I like the Rattler. Like I had the Rattler when I was a kid. I loved flying it around my room when I was playing with my GI Joes. And the pilot, Wild Weasel, he's one of my favorite Cobras. So I'm buying it mostly for Wild Weasel. Same as with the Hiss tank. I love the Hiss tank, but the Hiss driver was like a big reason for me that I loved it when I was a kid and why I wanted the new one. And but a lot of it is like the price and the space. Like I already don't know where I'm going to put my helicopter.
Yeah.
My tank, as I mentioned, it's up there on the shelf, kind of out of the way. You barely even notice it when you come in this room. And it's the kind of thing that should be a centerpiece.
Yeah.
And it's got lights and all this sort of stuff. But I've got it up there where I can't even really touch it or handle it. The airplane, if I get it, I think I'm probably going to have to hang it from wires from the ceiling, in which case I would never ever handle it. I would never get to see the light effects. And it would just become this thing up in the corner. And it's like, is that really worth like $500 to me? Because it's $350 American.
Yep.
Plus shipping, which is probably going to be, let's say, 50 or 60 American as well. So it'll be about 400 American, which is going to be over 500 Canadian. Probably getting closer to 6. And I think I might be better off buying the Wild Weasel off somebody on eBay for like, even if I have to pay $150 just for that guy, that's worth it to me to not spend $600 to get a plane that I won't have any space for. And fortunately, like if I buy the plane, it's a little bit of a disincentive that I don't feel that the other stretch goal figures are must-haves. Whereas with the Dragonfly helicopter, I actually liked the stretch goal characters more than I liked Wild Bill that came with the initial. So if I don't get the Rattler, I will buy Wild Weasel for a premium price on eBay, but I don't feel I need to buy the Cobra Gunner or the Baroness. I would like to have them, but I'm not going to lose any sleep if I don't have them. So yeah, I've got about a month because I think they're selling right till the end of August. So I've got a month to decide if I'm going to do it. And at this point, I really don't know. But yeah, lots of cool stuff.
Lots of cool Joes. The one thing I was kind of sour about was the retro carded Mindbender.
Right.
Because GameStop screwed me on this. And I was like, great, I'm never going to get a Mindbender unless I go on the secondhand market.
Yeah, because just a quick recap, Dr. Mindbender, he was a deluxe figure. He came in a box with a bunch of extra junk, like beakers and stuff from his laboratory that I didn't need. I just threw it in my spare parts bin. But because he had extra stuff, he was a premium figure. So he cost about $60, something like that. And but he was a convention exclusive. He wasn't easy to get. But our GameStop was taking pre-orders. You can go from there.
We pre-ordered, and then it got canceled. And then it went back up, and then you couldn't ship to the store, I believe. So then they canceled that. I had to go back online, ship it to my home address, and then they ended up canceling it like 24 hours later. So it was all these cancels. And then they randomly, this is when I wasn't all in on G.I. Joe at this point. They randomly called me one day and said, we have one here. Do you want it? And I said, no, that's okay. Call Mike because Mike will probably want it. And he's into it more than I am. And of course, never seen him. I did manage to secure one. With the help of a group member from G.I. Joe Classified.
But this is just recently. Like, do you even have it in hand yet?
I don't, because he hasn't shipped it. So regular viewers know that I was off work a couple months with a broken ankle. So I'm just starting to get funds built back up. I found one. Just paid $200 for it. I'm excited. And then they announced this. And it's like, of course.
But this is one of those things I warned you.
Yeah.
I get it. You don't know. I didn't know for sure. But yeah, this Dr. Mindbender, he was hard to get from the get-go. You missed out on your opportunity. And now like a year plus has gone by and you're like, if I'm ever going to get him, I have to go to the secondary market. You did, and you said that this guy was going to sell them to you for $200, and I was like, that's pretty rich. I'm like, I bet if you wait, they will re-release Dr. Mindbender. Now, maybe it won't be the version in the bare chest and the cape that he's best known for. Maybe they would release him in his lab coat version or something. But you don't have a big attachment to the character anyway, right?
Nope.
So I thought, you could be satisfied with the second lab coat version. But yeah, they announced at San Diego that they're going to release the version that I already have just on a card without all the extra beakers and junk. So now he'll be like $40 when he comes out on a retro card. But you've already committed to
I've already paid for it.
Yeah, you've already paid $200 for this other.
So it's super annoying.
That's rough.
But
that's rough.
Yeah. Anyways, that's besides the point. I'm excited about all the reveals. Welcome back. So, I lost my train of thought.
Well, it's not just that. Like I mentioned, it's August 1st, and we're down in my basement. It's hot as balls down here. Like we're dying, and I've tried to have a fan on me in the past when I shot these videos, but then I picked up all the whirring of the fan on the mic. But we just did a little test. We're using these Bluetooth mics, which are right on our chest. So I put a fan on us there, and I'm hoping that the fan noise doesn't get picked up by the Bluetooth, because we need it. I am literally like wiping sweat off my brow here. It's brutal. Anyway, so yeah, we were talking about San Diego, but maybe we have a lot of Joes to talk about, so maybe we should move on to that stuff. So the first one I want to talk about, because the last time you were here, we did, I think, an episode about G.I. Joe vehicles, because we had the G.I. Joe Vamp, and then we had the missile launcher.
The missile launcher.
Now, I thought we had talked about this too, but then I went back and was like, no, I don't think we talked about this yet. But over a month ago, we got the Cobra ATV, which is it's called the Cobra Ferret, and then it comes with the Cobra Ferret Scout, which is a female Cobra Trooper as the driver. And so I almost forgot about that. We need to talk about this because it's been so long. But yeah, mine is open. Yours is at home. You didn't bring it with you. Yeah. But yeah, so nice artwork on the front with the pilot or whatever, the driver on the thing. There's like a pyramid or something in the background. But it is a really cool vehicle. Yeah, I like this thing a lot. I never had the Ferret when I was a kid. I usually associate it with Tomax and Xamon, because I think they drove it either in the cartoon or maybe it was just
movie.
It might have even they might have been on it a few times. That's probably why I associate with them. But somebody could comment in the comments there and say no, they never actually rode it in the show or something. But maybe they just rode this in the cartoon segments of the commercial advertising those figures. I don't remember. I just know Tomax and Xamon rode this at some point, and that's who I associate it with. I never had the one from the 80s when I was a kid. So this is my first time with a Ferret. Now, I've actually never ridden an ATV in my life. I have no association with all-terrain vehicles. I don't have a fondness for them or anything. But this is a cool little vehicle. It's got little shocks in the wheels, so it's got a good bounce to it. I actually think this is probably the best little vehicle we've gotten so far.
I would agree with that.
We've got the motorcycles, like the Ram, and we got the sports motorcycle. We got the Trouble Bubbles. We got the missile launcher. We got Serpentor's Chariot, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think this is probably the funnest one. The wheels go. You can roll it around on the floor. It's got cool colors. It's got a cool driver who's somebody new. This character has never existed before. The Ferret.
The little tow cable in the front. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, tow cable in the front. It's just it's really neat.
I'm a sucker for female Cobra Troopers. There's not enough of them. But the detail I really like on this figure is the helmet, where I'm going to say that's the visor, or the part that goes over the top of the helmet, has snake fangs on it.
Again, I don't know the terminology, but it's like a motocross helmet.
Yeah.
Where they've got like a ridge. I don't know if that's to keep the sun out of their eyes, probably. But yeah, she's got two little fangs coming down, which is just a cool little detail. But you can take that off.
Yeah.
If I was going to have one little complaint, I kind of wish that when you took her helmet off, if she had an optional kind of standard Cobra Trooper helmet to put on it in place, because most of the other Cobra Troopers in the modern line, you can take the kind of helmet off, and then they've got just like a ski mask underneath. So she's got the kind of ski mask, but then you could never display her. Like if you wanted to take her off of this bike and put the, Tomax and Zaymon on here, and you wanted to display her with your Cobra Troopers, she seems to be missing her helmet. So that's a bit of a gripe. But otherwise, I think she's really cool. Like this ATV, this looks like something I remember from like kids driving BMXs or something. This weird little, I don't know if it's armor is what you'd call it or whatever, but yeah, this like cool little vest, cool helmet, cool vehicle. So yeah, I like this a lot. And we're already getting this repainted. We've pre-ordered the Tiger Force version, which comes with a Joe character. So we're gonna have this twice. And at that point, I would say that is plenty. I don't really like having to buy these things over and over and over again. So yeah, looks great in blue and red for Cobra. Tiger Force with the tiger stripes, that will be cool. But then we're done.
We're done. We say we're done.
Yeah. Now, otherwise, we have 6 other G.I. Joes to talk about. Now, I've got them all here beside me, all opened up. And usually what would happen is I would show these guys and I would cut in a picture of them in the boxes that I took before I opened them. But we don't have to do that necessarily because I bought them all for you at the same time I bought them for myself, and you're just seeing them for the first time.
Yes, that is correct.
So
you were holding them ransom for me.
Yeah, so you got them there still in their packages. So you haven't handled any of these guys yet.
No.
All right, who do you want to talk about first? Just grab whatever. Okay.
I grabbed Jason Shockwave Feria and the Night Pursuit motorcycle.
So that is, get that up closer. So yeah, this is a big G.I. Joe motorcycle with Shockwave. It's in kind of black and gray because it's part of the Night Force sub-team. You get a nice little action shot of the... and to be honest, I'll probably still splice in better photos of this so you guys can see it up close. Nice little shot of Shockwave himself on the side of the box. But yeah.
I like him. I just wish it wasn't done so close to the prior Shockwave release. Yeah. I understand they're trying to build their Night Force crew, but it was literally like just before Christmas, I think he came out. December?
Yeah, something like that. So it's been half a year.
Yeah, I guess, but
it's not that long.
It's not. That's
because when I was a kid, it took them years to redo somebody.
Yeah.
And when you're a kid, years feel a lot longer than they do as when you're an adult. So like when they first put out Snake Eyes in 1982, and then they put him out 3 years later again in 1985, that might as well have been a lifetime.
Yeah.
And Roadblock went from like 83 to 86, I think. So you get these 3-year gaps. But yeah, with these new G.I. Joes, sometimes it's like a month or two between figures. Same thing happened with Tunnel Rat.
Yeah, that was kind of annoying too.
Yeah, we got the new Tunnel Rat, like the first ever Tunnel Rat of Classified, and then literally like 2 or 3 weeks later, we had Night Force Tunnel Rat painted in darker colors. Yeah. And that's what we're getting with Shockwave here.
I mean, it's cool. Yeah, I can't really remember Shockwave, but there was a discrepancy with the colors, wasn't there?
No.
In the original.
Well, the original Shockwave that came out in '88 he's the SWAT guy of G.I. Joe, and he wears blue, and he had kind of this digital blue camo, so it was like blue on blue, and he was actually my favorite G.I. Joe. Like I'd been collecting G.I. Joes from '82 right up to '88 before that, so I had other favorites before Shockwave came along. But once Shockwave joined my vintage collection, he was immediately my favorite. He was like the new hero of my G.I. Joe team. He just kicked everybody else's ass. He was like incredibly overpowered when I played with my toys. So I loved Shockwave. And I was highly anticipating him in the Classified line. He came out last year. It was a good figure, which I actually have right here. So this is Shockwave in his standard blue. You can see he's got kind of a riot shield, which this version does not have. And yeah, he's got kind of a unique look because he's got this kind of digital blue camo, and then he's got a ball cap over top of his ski mask. I don't know if people do that in real life, but that's what Shockwave does.
He's a trendsetter.
Now this toy made my best of the year list, but it didn't make the top because as good as it is, there is something a little like I think the expression on his face was kind of that was my complaint. I think is that he just looks way too
happy
or just uninterested. Like you can see his eyes and his eyebrows, and he looks like this.
It looks like he actually hates his job, hates his life.
Like I really feel he needed a furrowed brow with some like angrier eyebrows. I think that would have done a world of difference.
And it looks like they kind of fixed it on this version because he's got that paint around his eyes, and he doesn't look as happy or pleasant.
So here's my Shockwave. Now I have him with his helmet on, which Shockwave has never had before, but he's got the same helmet that came with Clutch and the Jeep. So that's cool that you have an option to give him this helmet, which kind of changes the whole look of the character. I also like he's got the backpack with the drone from Firefly that fits on there, so that again kind of changes his look and differentiates him from the other version. The eyes on this guy, I don't think they've made him any angrier, but what's a little weird is I can't tell if he looks like he's either got heavy eyeshadow on, or maybe he's supposed to have kind of makeup like because he's out on a night mission and he's trying to cover up his skin with black paint. But if that's what they're doing, it's not done enough. Like it's kind of too subtle that wouldn't really help him hide, I don't think. I think it's just the digital printing that Hasbro does on faces now, but they had a very small area to work with because it's only just his eyes showing. And for them to try and maybe do the digital paint on that small area, it came out a little blurry. And that's why he has that kind of like mascara look.
Yeah, I can see that. It's kind of like the Simpsons episode where Homer shot Marge in the face with the makeup gun. Homer, it was set the whore!
I don't know if it's that bad, but...
No, it's not that bad, but like, I don't know. I definitely see an improvement with it. I think the eyes make him look a little less happy.
Yep. But like he has the same cap, so you can put his little cap on over the ski mask. And as I mentioned before, so the original Shockwave came out in '88. The Night Force Shockwave actually came out in 1989, so it was only like a year back then too. I didn't have the Night Force Shockwave. I didn't even know it existed because I think they were exclusive to American stores.
Yeah.
And so, they didn't show up in any of the Canadian catalogs or anything. So I didn't know there was such a thing until many, many years later. So yeah, he looks cool. I'm actually even considering displaying him on my shelf with the helmet.
With the helmet? Yeah, that's probably how I would do it.
Like, they both look cool. I'm really not sure.
I might even go just like balaclava.
Without the hat?
Yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise, they have changed him, it looks like, a little bit. He's got the same vest, but he doesn't have the shin guards on, so he's got like a less armored boot. He's only got one holstered gun on his leg. This guy has gun holster on 2. He's got a different belt. So yeah, they have made a bunch of changes there. Now another gripe I have with this guy, but not so much with this guy, which is odd. So I think the original one looks okay, but this guy I find he has it looks like he has no neck a little bit. Like I feel the collar of his jacket comes up a little high, so his head looks a little sunk into his shoulders, and I didn't feel that one came across that way. I don't know why that is, but maybe he's got a different torso underneath the vest this time, and it changed the shape. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm happy to get Shockwave again. Like I said, he's one of my all-time favorite G.I. Joe characters.
I like that they're staying consistent with the upsheath.
Yeah, he's got the same vest, so he still has that upsheath that you love for his knife. He's also got a knife sheathed on his belt. Yeah. I mentioned he's got the drone, which is really cool. So this thing comes off, and it's got like 2 little, I don't know what you call those, hover blades.
Propellers.
Propellers. So yeah, he's got a little drone. We saw it earlier with Firefly, I think it was. And
how does his backpack stay on?
not bad.
Because I know the original one, the backpack was freaking terrible.
Yeah, it must have been because I don't even have his backpack on him on the display. And most of my G.I. Joe classifieds I have on display with all of their gear. So if he had a backpack, which I'm trusting your memory over mine,
Yeah.
I obviously didn't put it on him, probably because it didn't stay on very good. This guy's backpack stays on better because it is a different pack.
They should really learn their shapes, though.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would put like a polygon in a circle, but
I don't know.
they do it.
Why not? And yeah, I guess we should quickly talk about the bike. So this is a bike we already have twice over.
Yeah.
Because yeah, we have the original green Ram
with Breaker.
Yep. So this came with Breaker. Back in the vintage toy line, it just came by itself. But yeah, for the classified one, came with Breaker, and then we got the Tiger Force
Duke.
Yeah, and it came with Duke, and now same bike. As far as I can tell, no changes, and now it's just painted black. It says Night Force. It's got the Night Force logo, and it comes with Shockwave. Now this is one of those things like the ATV. Once I had two of them, I was good. I'm like, okay, let's not overdo it. There, as far as I know, there's no kind of precedent for there to be a Night Force version of the bike. There wasn't a Night Force Ram in the vintage toy line, or even like the 4-inch toy line that came later. So yeah, this is a new concept, and I would have no problem with them giving Night Force a motorcycle, but I kind of wish they had at least given me a different motorcycle. I feel a little bit like a sucker when I'm paying for the same thing over and over again in different colors.
Well, and as I just said a couple minutes ago, 2 is enough, but
yeah, and like I don't
buying them.
Yeah, but like I could have not bought this and then not got Shockwave, but like I said, at this point I've basically been a completist. I've been buying pretty much everything. I have no problem buying all the characters, but I have a lot of G.I. Joe vehicles from when I was a kid, and I liked the vehicles. They did make playtime more fun, and it felt bigger than a lot of my other toy lines. But I didn't have the same attachment to them. I don't have them on display because I don't have the room. They're all in storage. They're all busted up. Every time I take out my old G.I. Joe vehicles, they're in worse shape than last time I looked at them. And I don't want it to get that point with these. Right now they're all out, but they're bigger, and I don't have room for them all. If I have to start throwing these in bins, they're going to get all busted up, and I really don't want it to come to that. So I'd rather they just stop making them.
Yeah.
But whatever. Okay.
Just give us the characters.
Next one.
The next one is the 2-pack Low-Light Spirit Iron Knife. And how do you say the name? Neil?
I don't know. That's a new character.
That's a new bird.
Yeah.
So Spirit usually has his eagle with him, his trusty eagle, but this time it is not an eagle.
Yeah, so in the vintage toy line, there was a sub-team similar to Tiger Force and Night Force called Slaughter's Marauders, which Sergeant Slaughter led. And all the Marauders had this cohesive color scheme of brown, blue, and green. Now, for whatever reason, they call it Mad Marauders. They don't call it Slaughter's Marauders anymore, which I would have thought would have been made sense if maybe they didn't have the rights to Sergeant Slaughter anymore. But they do, because they've already put out one Sergeant Slaughter figure, and they're putting out a second one in Marauder colors. So yeah, I don't know why they changed it to Mad Marauders instead of Slaughter's Marauders.
One thing I am noticing right off the bat, though, is it looks like they gave, let's go with Niall, a spare set of wings.
Yes.
So that's cool. They look like flight wings.
So just here is the original Low-Light in Classified. So this guy is based on the original Low-Light. So he's in his black and gray with red goggles. He's got this big sniper rifle in a kit. And it was a pretty cool figure. This was a pretty good version of Low-Light. I was happy with him. And Spirit, this is the original Spirit Iron Knife that we got in Classified. You can see I've got his Eagle Freedom kind of perched on his backpack here. This was another toy that made my best of the year list.
Yes.
I love this figure. I think it's great. And yeah, these are both good figures, so I don't mind getting them again in the Marauders colors. So here they are, my opened versions. So here is Low-Light. And I haven't really looked at these guys that much to do any comparisons, but this looks to be the exact same figure. He's got the same like knife sheath on one leg. He's got a little thing for his cell phone on the other leg. Yeah, so I think the base figure is the same. But they changed up his backpack. They gave him Tunnel Rat's backpack this time with the flashlights. Yep. He has got a sniper rifle. I don't know if it's the same one that's in. I don't know if it's the same one that came in this guy's case because I don't have him holding the assembled rifle right now. But this guy has a sniper rifle, but it's not in a case, so you don't have the option of tucking it away like that.
That's kind of annoying.
He's also got a satchel, which I think originally came with, I don't know, Firefly or Duke or somebody. So he's got this little side purse. But yeah, so the accessories have changed, but otherwise same figure. It was already good. Which you don't have a whole lot of ties to this character either, I assume.
No, and I'm not generally a fan of the color brown. Like that's my most hated color. I think that the brown on this is not terrible. I like the blue accents. It makes the whole figure pop.
So of the two Low-Lights, which one do you like better?
I'm gonna go the original.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for the original too. Although right now, as I look at the two, I'm kind of liking this guy, but it might just be because this guy's been displayed on my shelf for months now, and I've got his goggles up on his toque.
Yeah.
Just because of the novelty of being able to take his goggles off.
Yeah.
The vintage toy, the goggles were sculpted onto his face. So the fact that you could take his goggles off, I thought, I'm going to show his eyes. But this one here, I have the goggles down over his eyes, so it reminds me more of the vintage figure. And maybe that's why I'm kind of like, oh, he looks cool. But maybe it's just a matter of me pulling his goggles down, and then I would. But yeah, they're both good. I like it.
Oh, excuse me. How does his Tunnel Rat backpack stay on?
Seems to be holding up okay.
Okay.
All right, so now let's take a look at Spirit to Spirit. These look to be the same figure. I don't see any changes in the sculpt of the body. Now, one thing I know, like he's got the same rifle. They changed up his backpack too. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why, because this new backpack, it's cool. It's a big pack. It's got a little shovel that attaches to the side and everything. I can't remember who came with that first. Maybe Outback?
Outback.
But the backpack on this figure has that perch for his bird.
Yeah.
And now the bird can't
his animal bird.
Yeah, his animal bird. So it seems, I don't know why he doesn't have a perch anymore. Like, you would think he would want to. He still has the holes on his wrist, so the bird can be perched on his wrist. So here's the bird, which is Niall, they say.
Niall.
Niyol. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's like an indigenous word meaning something. But I actually think it's kind of cool that they changed up his bird. So he's got Freedom the Eagle and now Niall the, I don't know, Falcon?
Yeah, let's go with Falcon. Oh, he looks like a falcon.
Yeah, so it's brown, but doesn't have the white head that Freedom does. And so these are his kind of perching wings, so you can kind of perch him on Spirit's arm like so. Or he comes with the big flying wings, which I know you guys can't see what I'm doing, but I'll do a split screen. But yeah, the flying wings, so you can have the bird in full flight too, which is, I'm glad they didn't not include those. And otherwise, there were a few extra guns in the set. There's also Low-Light came with those multi-eyed goggles that we've seen before with Tunnel Rat, and I think somebody else too, the Night Spider or
yes,
whatever his name was.
Verma.
Yeah. So, but that's a cool set, especially if you missed out on the original Spirit or Low-Light. I would say definitely pick this up. All right, but that covers off our Night Force guys. So now let's move on to some retro carded figures. Here you go.
Cobra Eel. The retro carded Cobra Eel. I mean, this figure was generally hard to hard to find. Apparently, I'm going through puberty again.
Again, yeah.
He was hard to find when he first came out because I remember having to go through like Amazon.com, then it went through Amazon in
Well, yeah, because he was like an Amazon exclusive.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a lot of them. So, yeah, it was a real pain in the ass to get the original, not that one, but the original eel, which I have here. So this is the eel that we got a few months ago. Or a year ago, whatever it was.
Probably about a year.
About a year. Now, I will say, and this will be more evident when we look at the next two figures, but the whole reason for these like retro carded figures seems to be that when the classified line first started, the Hasbro design team were taking characters that we knew, but they were kind of giving them a new modern spin. And the feedback they seemed to be getting from fans were like, we want the original looks. We don't want your new interpretations. So we had a Duke and we had a Scarlet that had all these new fancy colors and fancy sculpts, and they looked a little bit younger. So then they put out retro carded versions of them, and now they look like the original figures from the 80s, and they're more mature. And so since then, the retro cards have been all about, like, let's give you a version that's more faithful to the vintage toy, and we can leave the boxed figures as that's where we can still take some chances and experiment a little bit. So I didn't even think about it, but when I bought these eels, I bought yours and I bought mine, and then I got them home and I opened them up and I put them beside this eel. And so, yeah, that's the old one. And this is the new one. And they look the same. This guy's gray is maybe a little darker.
Yeah.
But that might just be my eyes. There's a little rope on the end of his gun. This guy's is red. This guy's is blue. But that is, like, the vintage toy didn't even have a rope on his gun, so that's not even really to go back to the vintage. The biggest difference is there's a crest on the back of their, like, breather backpack.
Yeah.
The new vintage card one that you're holding has just a standard Cobra emblem, which I can't remember, but that's probably truer to the vintage toy. Whereas this guy here had a big white crest with, like, it's a new logo with an eel wrapped around an anchor or something. But that's basically the change, is the patch on the back. That's it. And maybe some very, very, like, minor cosmetic differences. So, let me just ask you, if you had known these guys were going to be the exact same, would you have still wanted me to order you that guy, or?
I would say yes, because he's an army builder, and
did you only get one the first time, or did you get two?
No, I got one the first time.
Okay. Because, yeah, we had talked about buying two. In the early days of Classified, I was trying to buy at least two of every trooper so I could have a little squad on my shelves. But because the eels were so difficult to find, we only got one each. But I had actually considered buying two so I could display one with this kind of breather mask on and one with the mask off, because they're pretty different looks. So the fact that these two figures are basically identical, it's not a big deal to me, because I probably will display one with the mask on and one with the mask off.
Yeah.
But I kind of wish they were a little different. You know, I don't need drastically different, but in the 4-inch line, there was multiple repaints of the eel that they could have leaned into to make these guys a little different. Like, some of them had red that came down the side of their legs. Some of them had more black. So I would have liked maybe one of these to maybe represent one of those figures, just to give a little diversity. But the eel was a fantastic figure. I think he might have made my best of the year list too, actually. So again, they're giving us great figures, so I don't really mind buying them more than once. All right, you're eager to move on to the next one.
It's a weird name. All right, so we got Beachhead, or Wayne R. Sneeden.
Sneeden, yeah.
Sneeden. That's a weird name. Anyway, I apologize if any of you have that last name. I didn't mean to insult you.
All the Sneedens are going to unsubscribe.
Yeah, unsubscribe. Please don't.
No, you know what? Let's take a stand. Fuck you, Sneedens. We don't want you. All right.
Oh, man. I'm glad you talked me out of buying the original release of this guy.
Here's the original Beachhead. This guy was a Target exclusive, which we don't have in Canada, so it made him very difficult to get. And I think I had to go to the secondary market. I paid a little bit more than I wanted to get him from like eBay or something. And you, once you got really into G.I. Joe, you were about to do the same. And I was kind of deterring you because this figure isn't the best. And I was like, I bet you anything they're going to redo this guy in more classic colors. And sure enough, here he is.
They did. I will note right off the bat, though, that he doesn't have a beret.
Well, see, the funny thing about that, so this guy here, if you can see, and you'll see it in my insert shot, I've got him wearing this red beret on his head. Yeah. But the funny thing is, when this figure was shown with the beret, a lot of people online were like, why does he come with a beret? That's stupid. Beachhead doesn't have a beret. But on the vintage toy...
He always had one strapped on his shoulder,
and that's, so
right?
is this guy. Yeah. That's what he's got. So he's got... This is based on the vintage 80s toy, where there's this red thing strapped onto his shoulder, which as a kid, I assumed it was, I don't know, just
a red patch.
A red patch, maybe a little rope or something. I didn't understand that he had a beret strapped to his vest. So it's pretty cool that they came up with that in this version here, that they gave him a beret that you can put on his head. You don't have to keep it on his head. Most people don't associate Beachhead with wearing a beret over top of his balaclava. So, yeah, it's nice that you don't have to do that. But it does, I've been displaying him that way, so it's nice that these guys will be different now, because this guy doesn't have that option. So,
without the speech impediment.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think this guy's great. Because, like, Beachhead was a really cool character. As a kid, I really loved the guys with masks. It made them a little bit more mysterious.
Yeah.
And so beyond Snake Eyes, that's probably why Shockwave was one of my favorites.
Right.
My brother Doug owned Beachhead when we were kids, and he was one of Doug's favorites. Beachhead was a real hard ass in the cartoon. He was kind of like a drill sergeant, and he was always busting all the other G.I. Joe's balls and stuff. So he was a cool, like, kind of a mean, nasty guy, and just a great looking figure. And yeah, this one here, this color, I didn't like that kind of pukey green color that they gave him. He looked a little skinny. I don't know. This just didn't really scream classic Beachhead to me. But yeah, they've made a lot of changes. It's not just the colors. It's like
body.
Yeah, like his boots are totally different. He's got
combat boots.
Yeah, he's got combat boots. This guy's got like kind of shin guards. He's got a totally different vest. Mm-hmm. So this retro card one, he's got a vest that looks like the vintage toy with all those ammo clips on the front, which this guy does not have. This guy's got kind of a cable knit sweater that runs down all of his arms and stuff. Yep. This guy does not. He's just got like kind of the cuffs and the collar that's cable knit. So he's got totally new arms and looks like probably new torso. New gear. He's new lower like feet. I don't know if he's got the same pants. He might have the same legs. He's got the same backpack. Probably mostly the same weapons. But yeah, I think he's really cool. I like this guy a lot.
Yeah, he's a pretty solid figure. I'm glad I waited.
Yeah, and like just with any figure that's a repaint of a figure I already got has his work cut out for him to be on my best of the year list. Like even Shockwave being one of my favorite characters, I don't see the Night Force one being on my favorites this year. I think both the Spirit and the Low-Light are really good, but they're not going to be on my best of the year. The Eel is almost a complete redo of the Eel that had previously made my list, but I've already been there and done that. So the newness factor is gone. Beachhead and the next and final figure that we're going to talk about, those two might actually stand a chance because this is such an improvement over the previous figure. So yeah, I love Beachhead. I think this is a really great figure. So pick it up whether you have the older one or not. It's good.
And the final one. This is the one I was most excited about. Another troop builder. Mm-hmm. We have the retro carded Snow Serpent. Now, when this guy came out, I did buy 2 of them.
Me too.
And mostly because that came with like the wolf head mask thing. And I was like, I'm going to put him as the leader, and then the other one won't have it. What really annoys me, though, just looking at it right now, is I like my display bases to be all the same color. It's white.
Yeah.
That's just going to drive me absolutely bonkers. Looking at this figure, I think I actually like this one more than the previous version.
I do too.
I think the blues pop a bit more. It's a lot darker, actually.
And I think it's probably nostalgia that's winning me over a little bit, because I had the Snow Serpent when I was a kid, like the original one from '85. Loved it. He was one of my favorite. He seemed like he had so much gear compared to all the other GI Joes, because he had snowshoes and he had a backpack with a missile launcher and he had this pouch around his waist and gun and a lot of stuff. And when they did the first classified version, it was like a deluxe figure, so it was more expensive because he had all this extra gear. He had snowshoes, he had a snowboard, he had a cape made out of like pelts, and he had this wolf head that can be used as a cowl. And yeah, it was really cool. And for that reason, I bought 2 of them as well. So I could display one with the cowl and the cape, and then the other one was more stripped down to look more like the classic Snow Serpent. So I brought one of them down here. So this is the original Snow Serpent. This is how I have him displayed. He doesn't have the pelt on. He's standing on his snowboard instead of a display base. But yeah, this is a great figure. Like,
yeah, solid figure.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
That was black, right?
What was that?
Is that I'm colorblind, so that's a dark blue?
He's got a really dark blue on his like web gear and stuff. But
this is a nicer color.
That's a real that's a rich royally blue.
Royal blue.
Yeah. So like this guy, I would have been content if they never made another Snow Serpent. I would have been like, yeah, this guy's great. He looks enough like the vintage one. I don't need them to look exactly like the vintage one. As long as it's awesome, I don't care.
Yeah.
And this guy is awesome.
No snowboard with him.
Nope.
But the original retro one didn't have a snowboard, did he?
No, he didn't. Same as like this guy doesn't have a pelt or a cowl. But that's also, it keeps the price down. Like, exactly. These guys are regular price figures instead of the deluxe. And yeah, seeing them side by side, I'm won over by the retro colors too. So I didn't know I needed this figure until I saw it in hand. And yeah, I love it.
So I'm just noticing, back to the display base.
Yeah.
So the display base is actually a light shade of gray. It looks like it's the same color as the arms and the pants. And then the
I think it's kind of an off-white. It's kind of like a bone.
Yeah, and then the snowshoes.
Snowshoes are white.
Are like, they're not the same color, so that's gonna drive me crazy.
What, you want his snowshoes to be the same color as the base?
Or make the...
What did I just knock off? Yeah, but do you even need a base? Because he'll stand on his snowshoes, and then he doesn't need a base.
I know, but...
Which is great, because a lot of G.I. Joe figures, we complain about this a lot, don't come with display bases. These retro-carded figures do. So Beachhead and Eel and Snow Serpent here all came with display bases, which are these like rectangular bases. The G.I. Joe has a G.I. Joe logo. The Cobra ones have a Cobra logo. But what's nice is the Snow Serpent can stand okay on his own because he's got these big snowshoes that give him a nice secure base. And the Eel has a solid base because he's got big flippers on. So that means I can use those 2 display bases for other figures that didn't come with a display base or flippers. So, yeah. Great stuff.
Yeah, he's sick. I think he ousted the original release for me.
Yeah. Now, we're almost, I don't know, we stopped and started again. So I'm looking at my counter there. We're at 38 minutes. So we're probably getting close to an hour in total. Should we wrap this up? Because we've got a lot of other toys we want to talk about, so maybe we should cut this off and do another episode.
I'm on a toy frenzy right now. I had 19 come in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah, I told Chad to bring his toys with him for us to talk about, and he showed up here looking like Santa Claus. He's got this multiple sacks over his shoulder. It's crazy. So
that's not even the biggest sack I have.
He's got elephantitis of the balls.
Yeah. Anyways, that being said.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got right off to the left of us here, we've got a ton of toys. So we're going to talk about as many of them as we can squeeze into tonight before we get bored of doing this. So why don't you sign us off for this G.I. Joe episode?
All right. So, if you watched this far, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Leave us comments. Yes. We genuinely enjoy interacting with everyone and chatting about toys.
Yes. Had some really nice comments on the last episode, actually. So, yeah. Thanks to all of you that keep commenting. Much appreciated. But all right. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Ciao.
Yo, Joe.